Welcome to our regularly scheduled Zoning Advisory Commission meeting for October 6th, 2021. Appreciate you all being here. We are going to call this meeting to order. Staff, if you would please call roll.
Christ?
Here.
Kemp?
Here.
Leffelholtz?
Here.
Norton?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Zucchero?
Here.
Mulligan?
Here. Can you please confirm we are in compliance with the Iowa Open Meetings Law?
Yes, we are in compliance.
Thank you. All right. Commissioners, in front of you is the minutes from our meeting on September 1st. At this point, I'd entertain any modifications, changes, or a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the minutes from September 1st of 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, Zucchero and Leffelholtz?
We have a motion and a second.
Kemp?
Aye.
Leffelholtz?
Aye.
Norton?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
Zucchero?
Aye.
Christ?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Mulligan?
Aye. Thank you much. All right, so everybody has an agenda in front of them. The first two items are action items. So for those of you here to speak on behalf of them, I'll run through the rules to the game real quick. So we'll ask you to come forward and state your name, state your address, and you're going to tell us what it is that you're looking for from the commission. We may or may not have a question for you. At that point, we'll turn it over to staff for their report as well as it pertains to that item. And then the commission will discuss it a little bit more, and then we'll move on to making a motion at that point. So with that, let's move on to our first item here. So it's regarding Lake Eleanor Road. Parcels, we'll just do the ending in 6002 and ending in 6003. To approve the final plat of Rolling Hills Farm number 2. Is our applicant here tonight? Come on up.
Hello, Dave Schneider, Schneider Land Surveying, 906 First Street North, Farley, Iowa. Working with Pat Leonard, in fact, we actually started this little project about in 2011. Pat bought a parcel of land off of the Bushman farm and has built the property up, house, and then he has some ag uses on there as well. Basically negotiated a purchase of a little more land on the north edge of what he had bought originally off the Bushman farm again, and basically the reason we're here, we're within the 2-mile jurisdiction of the city of Dubuque, and I guess the main reason we're here is because the purchase basically narrowed up the remaining lot to less than 50 feet of frontage on the public right-of-way. So obviously generating a planning advisory board of review and city council. So really nothing's really changing out there. We're taking 2 lots, adjusting them into 2 lots, and the same property owners are going to occupy the land that they do with a slight adjustment, lot line adjustment. So, and Pat Leonard's here as well if you have any questions for him, but if, or any questions towards me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Okay, very good. Staff, you give us your report?
Sure. The applicant did a great job of summarizing it. I'll just add an additional couple points here. So as the applicant mentioned, that both properties currently take access off of Lake Eleanor Road. And with this lot line adjustment, the lot one, the northern piece there, would have to take access to Lake Eleanor Road through the properties to the north, which are currently under the same ownership as lot one. This property or this subdivision is within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, and because our code does require that there is a standard lot have access or frontage on at least 50 foot of frontage, it is therefore being reviewed by the commission this evening. And with that, both properties are R2 zoned. The zoning would not change with this lot line adjustment. And aside from the, as I mentioned, the waiver for the lot frontage for Lot 1, both properties would be in compliance with regards to use allowed in the zoning as well. And with that, staff is available for any questions.
Great, thank you, Shana. Any questions for staff from the commission regarding the request?
I do have one question. Would this lot be then labeled as non-buildable unless combined with the adjacent lot?
So non-buildable, not necessarily. We would still look at the zoning. Well, first and foremost, this is in the county. So the city wouldn't necessarily regulate the development standards. We're just looking at this for the purposes of the subdivision. So for me to say for certain, I can't speak to that because that really would fall under county jurisdiction.
Okay.
And I see the applicant, he might have some additional clarification based on his experience.
Under the, again, Dave Schneider, under the R2 zoning in the county, as long as it meets that 1 acre requirement for the net taxable area to allow for the septic system, it would be considered a buildable lot in the county. And as far as access, basically, in the county, as long as they have, can get an easement to a permitted entrance drive off the county road, they could, in fact, build on this property. But it would have to probably come off of the neighboring property to the north, which is part of the Bushman Farm as well.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question. There's no easement on this and there's no frontage. So my question is, if this lot doesn't have access, how would it happen? So it would have to have an access provided in the future, and that's fine.
We basically have a note on the plat that indicates that, and just below the title up there, but basically a note, Lot 1 in Rolling Hills Farm Subdivision, Butte County, Iowa, will have access to Lake Eleanor Road over and across Lot 36 and Lot 2 of Lot 37 in Wilson Subdivision of Foley's Grove. So we're kind of trying to illustrate just a general access as part of the farm and how they get there.
Right, but that's not an easement. That's just a blanket note.
Yep,
So-
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's somebody else's problem down the road, I guess.
And there's a couple different ways that could occur, right? So that could occur through a plat, or it could occur through a deed, or a lot, if they were to tie the lots together. So there's a number of different opportunities through which they could
Right.
monitor that access. That access issue doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of our code. It's rather just that this lot would then be non-conforming, so to speak, in the sense that it doesn't take frontage or have frontage along that 50-foot, along Lake Eleanor Road, that 50-foot of frontage. Hopefully that's clear.
Any other questions, clarifications? If not, we entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the final plat of Rolling Hills Farm number 2.
I second it.
Kemp and Zucchero. Okay. Leffelholtz,
Aye.
Norton,
Aye.
Russell,
Aye.
Zucchero,
Aye.
Christ,
Aye.
Kemp,
Aye.
Mulligan.
Aye. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 2, which is a final plat as well, at 8205 Forestry Way, parcel ending in 6001. We're looking to approve the final plat of Stone Quarry Subdivision Plat 4. Is our presenter here today? Dave as well.
Dave Schneider, Schneider Land Surveying, 906 First Street North, Farley, Iowa. Basically working with Dubuque Hardwoods and Matthey, basically River City Stone. Situation here where Dubuque Hardwoods was moved out to the quarry when they basically moved out of the riverfront area as part of the city's development down there. And this was, I want to say, I guess the owner's here if you have any questions on the date, but basically over the years they've been expanding in the quarry, kind of dividing up their businesses, growing them, and they needed some additional room for storage for the wood bark the mulch down in, that they produce down in the quarry, and are looking to expand onto River City Stone's property directly northeast of where they run their operation in the quarry. And so basically the reason we're here again, this is, we're within the 2-mile jurisdiction of the city of Dubuque. And again, the lack of frontage because of, they've got kind of shared easements through all the entities that operate in that quarry. So access is kind of a non-issue as far as they're concerned, but it does not have frontage on a public street bringing us here. So be happy. The owner is here if you have any questions as far as his intent and that sort of thing. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for the applicant or the commission? Okay, very good. Move on to the staff report. Shana?
Sure, certainly. So as the applicant identified, Lot 1 of the subdivision currently is accessed through an easement to the property to the southeast. They are proposing to subdivide that 10 acres in the, southwest corner there. And as noted in the image above you here, you can see that they are proposing as part of the plat an easement to Lot 1 that would go through Lot 2. So they would have access off of Old Macy Road technically to both of those lots through this plat and through the easements identified in there. With that, the zoning is agricultural. Any rezoning or change of use would be processed through the county. The city would not process that application. It appears as though they're looking to sell that off, so staff is available to answer any questions should the commission have any.
Thank you. Any questions for staff at this point? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Chair Mulligan, if I can make one distinction, I just want to make it clear, and I apologize because I failed to do this in the last item. When making this motion, if we could just clearly identify the waiving the lot frontage requirement for Lot 1 and 2 as part of the motion, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat of Stone Quarry Subdivision, Plat 4, waiving the lot front on, where did I do it now? On Lot 1 and 2.
Second.
1 and 2. Seconded by Russell.
Okay. Norton?
Aye.
Russell? Christ?
Aye.
Kemp?
Aye.
Holtz?
Aye.
Mulligan?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So before we move on to the public hearings, do you feel we need to amend our motion for item number 1 to specifically include the waiving?
I do think that would be appropriate, yes, if we could.
Okay. Let's take a step back to Dave. Dave has left, and that's okay. Let's go back to what would be the appropriate action here? Would we want to?
So I think the
So who made
appropriate
the
action
motion?
would be to reopen the, it's not a public hearing item, so I think Chris, if you have.
I think usually what we just do is ask the maker of the motion if they would care to amend it and then re-vote on the amended.
Sure. So to ask the maker of the original motion to amend that motion and then follow with the second, and then we would do the roll call again.
I think Commissioner Kemp made the motion. Is that right?
That item was
Number 1.
motioned by Kemp and seconded by Zucchero.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to approve the final plat of Rolling Hills Farm number 2, subject to waiving the lot frontage requirement for Lot 1.
Second.
And Zucchero,
Okay.
second. Thank you.
Leffel Holtz?
Aye.
Norton? Russell?
Aye.
Zucchero?
Aye.
Christ?
Aye.
Kemp?
Aye.
Mulligan?
Aye. Okay, thank you. Art, yep.
I'm sorry. I'm going to recuse myself from the next 2 items as my firm has been involved in both of them.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And I'm going to recuse myself from the first item as I'm an employee there.
I am also going to recuse myself from item number 1 here. However, for those of you that are here, let me just walk through the setup here. So as we move into the public hearings, we have 2 items here. So we're going to ask that you come forward when it is your respective item. You're going to state your name, you're going to state your address, you're going to give a description of what it is specifically that you are asking for. At that point, we're going to open it up to a public hearing. Anybody here to speak for or against? If you are for or against it and you come up, we're going to ask that you also state your name, state your address, and what it is that you are wanting to communicate. At that point, we'll go ahead and close the public session. We'll ask the applicant to rebuttal anything that was stated. We'll move on to staff report and then move into a commissioner discussion and subsequent vote. So having said all of that, we're going to turn it over to Commissioner Zaccaro, who's going to walk us through this, and I will recuse myself at this point.
Thank you. So our first item under the public hearing on our agenda is a rezoning, quasi-judicial. The applicant is Christopher Kidd and Associates. The location is 4025 Westmark Drive, parcel ending in 6013. The request is to amend the Westmark PUD to allow drive-through pickup windows for pharmacies. Is the applicant or representative here on behalf to provide a presentation?
Yes, good evening. Patrick Norton, Beasing and Associates. Our address is 1212 Locust Street. We have been involved in this project from the beginning here, and the original plan was to put a Grand River Medical Group facility on the site. That would be on the southern half with parking on the northerly half. Just as construction began, there became an opportunity, and it was desired to add a pharmacy to this building. The pharmacy itself is considered as an accessory use to the medical facility. However, they would also like to have a drive-through here. In the PUD, it specifically lists drive-throughs are allowed for banks, and that was all it said. So being that they would like the drive-through, the way to do that, we have to actually amend the PUD, which is why we're here tonight. The drive-through itself, the pharmacy is going to be about a 450 square foot addition to the building, and the internal circulation is such that the users of the drive-through are requested to enter into the south access, wrap around the building. There's a additional center turn lane that has been created to allow the patrons of the drive-through to queue up along the center and then proceed along to the drive-through window. This won't impede site traffic. This on-site queuing is well in excess of anything that's being required for even the most intense uses of a drive-through, for example, fast food or coffee shop. But again, that's not what we're doing here. We're doing a drive-through for pharmacy. The traffic reports that we generated for this are a bit, I guess in my opinion, misleading. The way we have to do this is we have to follow published traffic results, traffic data that's put together by the International, or ITE, International Traffic something or other. Traffic engineers, okay. And what you have to do is kind of find the use and filter down through it, and then they have done studies for different sites. Well, this site, this use was actually a pharmacy, so it was under retail, pharmacy with drive-through was the charts essentially that I had to use. The traffic counts we came up with were minuscule because our building is so small. We think even at that rate they were inflated because this is only a pharmacy, not necessarily a Walgreens, for example, that would have other items on their shelf, such as chips, healthcare items. This is purely a pharmacy. So we believe that the traffic, again, was grossly exaggerated in our initial numbers. The use of the drive-through is actually going to be very minimal, again, because it is going to be a branch of Hardig Drug. And let's just say a doctor prescribes a medication. On the way out, the patient stops in the pharmacy, gets it filled. If there are refills, they can go to any Hardig Drug around in the tri-state areas, not necessarily back to this one. So, again, if somebody's out running errands and is over by Asbury and JFK, they can get it refilled there. They can get it refilled down on is it First and
First and local.
Locust, wherever there's another Harding Drugs. So the use of the drive-through, in my opinion, is going to be very minimal. But in that, we still need to have the use added to the PUD. So if there are any questions, I'll step back and we can gather public input. And if you have questions, call me back.
I do have a question. Just curious, would patients have access to the pharmacy from the inside?
Yes.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Anybody else?
All right,
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you,
step
Pat.
back and we can go on with the public hearing then.
Thank you. So I'd now like to open the floor for any public comments. So if anybody would like to come forward and speak on behalf of this proposal, feel free to come forward and please state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, I guess I will close the floor. Staff report?
Yes, thank you. So as the applicant identified, this is a request to amend an existing PUD for the Westmark Corporate Center area. So this center is composed of 5 different parcels, 4 of which have already been developed. This is the 5th, which is currently under construction. And as the applicant mentioned, this is a piece or operational piece that they are looking to add to the scope for this property, and specifically for the Grand River Medical Group use. The PUD currently allows for medical offices and use, and it is very specific in what it allows is ancillary or accessory uses to the specific uses that are allowed by right. Again, medical offices and clinics are allowed by right. Those few exceptions that are allowed as ancillary uses include employee recreational facilities, drive-up bank facilities, outdoor area for group daycare centers, open air restaurant seating, and then now, if amended today, this pharmacy drive-through pickup window. When this ordinance was established, it was established in 1991. Based on staff research, we've kind of identified that this was prior to the movement of pharmacy drive-throughs in the United States, which was really kind of kicked off by Walgreens right around early 1990s. Since that time, the pharmacy drive-through windows have become quite popular, both nationally as well as throughout Dubuque. And as proposed, this specific pharmacy would be operated by Harding Drug. And as the applicant mentioned as well, they would have the opportunity to access the pharmacy from the interior as well as through the drive-through option. Staff, city engineering has looked at and reviewed the traffic counts and has also conducted some of their own traffic counts in the area with respect to this type of use. And they have not found that this would be a substantial impact to traffic flows for the site, for the development in its totality. Let's see. Additionally, again, as I mentioned, this would be a very specific amendment. It would allow specifically for drive-through pharmacy uses as an ancillary exterior use to primary uses. So it's not kind of kicking open the door to a number of additional uses outside of what the PUD currently allows. And with that, staff is available to answer any questions if the commission has any.
Any questions for Sheena? Thank you, Sheena. So if not, I guess I'll bring it back to the table for discussion. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to amend the Westmark PUD to allow for a drive-through pickup window for pharmacy.
I'll second.
Russell,
Aye.
Christ,
Aye.
Leffelholtz, Zucchero.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Back over to Matt.
You did a great job.
Oh,
How's that, Kirsten?
Yes, and I'll just make note that this item, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the PUD amendment will go to the city council on October 18th.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, we're going to move on to item number 2, under the public hearing, so location at 684 Kane Street, to rezone from an R1, single-family residential, to R3, moderate-density multifamily residential, to build a 3-unit townhouse. Is our applicant here to speak in regards to it? Very good.
Hello, I'm Joe Bia, and I live at 96 North Grandview Avenue, Dubuque. And I am looking to try to have, basically, I own the lot at 684 Kane Street and the house that's actually currently attached to that. And the lot is about 1.5 acres. And I am basically came in and I'm gonna separate a lot off the side, that proposed lot there, and I am interested in putting a for sale, not for rent, 3-plex townhomes, row house, basically. Each one would have an independent garage, independent services, everything. They would be sold, not rented.
Okay. Very good. Nope, that's good. Thank you.
Good?
Any questions for our applicant before we move on to public hearing? Any clarity?
Yeah, Joe, did you say that there would be garages?
Yep. Each one would have a separate garage,
A single stall?
single tandem, basically 14-foot wide door. They're about 20 feet wide apiece. So, yeah, each one would be separate access. Everything would be separate,
All right, thanks.
basically.
Okay, very good. You can have a seat. Yep. We will open the floor up to public input for or against. If you have a comment, feel free to come on up. Just state your name, state your address, and your thoughts.
Thomas J. Kraus, 686 Kane Street. The proposed property that is asked to be rezoned, that whole street, I should say that whole part of that street, because there are apartments way up by Wahlert High School. But below that, it's all single-family homes and young families, retired people. It's an old neighborhood. And the property is right next door to our property. We always kind of knew sooner or later the property would be developed as a single-family home. But to go from an empty lot we've been there 23 years, to go from an empty lot to a multi-unit townhouse unit is kind of a shock to most of the neighbors that I've talked to. We just as soon it stay a single-family neighborhood. I don't have to tell you some of the concerns when property goes rental.
It's not rental, right? It's not rental.
Okay, excuse me. Nevertheless, I just feel like it should be, and I'm not alone, that it should remain a single-family partial. I guess this is my wife, Becky.
Hi. Yeah, we've lived there for 23 years. We were very good friends with Dory and Earl Aronson. Maybe some of you knew them. And we've loved living there. The space is beautiful. We've got the walnut trees in the back. We've always enjoyed it. And like you said, we knew someday that it would probably be developed. We always assumed it would be a single family that would move in there, and that's, I think, the most desirable thing. We just wonder how much green space will be left once you put 3 units in, and parking and garages. We're wondering how far up the lot these things will go. We're just wondering how many bedrooms each one of these will be. There's a lot of concerns that we have for this, so, and our opinion is that it should stay a single-family lot. It's, we just wondered, we think that it should stay that way. That's our desire. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others here this evening?
Hi, my name's Rose Taney. I reside at 580 Primrose Court, so my property is actually aligning right up with this proposal property as well. On this, the main concerns that we do have is, again, this is an R1 neighborhood for the most part. We really don't have any other of these R3 zones anywhere near, and the initial drive for these types of neighborhoods for people to come in and live in them is the fact that they are R1 zones, that they are family and residentials. My other concerns with this is that having a duplex proposal for this and rezoning from an R1 to an R3, we're taking a loss with the integrity of the actual neighborhood itself, because once the first one goes in, there's nothing stopping the next one from going in, and we're very concerned with that as well. As you can see, he does have some parsed off land. This is the full block for the property with the house that's adjoining, but his proposal is just for a smaller plot of that. But if that does not go as planned, we have concerns that it could further be developed and that the White House would be the one that would have the actual smaller property with the potential for the rest of the area to rezone into R3, which again would be right aligning with us in our neighbor's backyard as well, and we're extremely concerned about that. In addition, I noticed that on the initial proposal, there was note for the actual housing structure itself as well as the parking lot. It did not state anything about any proposed garage structures, and I'm under the impression that there needs to be a minimum of 50% usable land in that area. So I'm wondering, if he is parsing this out as small as he is with that smaller block, how are we accommodating the parking lot as well as those garage units? So again, I am opposing this transition of rezoning from R1 to R3. Again, for the fact that I would prefer that it stay in R1. I have absolutely no problems with it being developed into a single-family home. I think, again, like the other neighbors have said, this would be ideal for us. We're more than happy to welcome people into the neighborhood, but we're very concerned about the unknowns with this, as well as the potential. We do have a lot of families in the neighborhood, and what you don't see in looking at these pictures is the back part of that property is actually a drop. And what would happen is they would actually dig into the bluff. There would have to be a giant retaining wall. And with small children in the neighborhood, I fear we could have potential for accidents as well. And I don't know what they would do to actually work around that. So again, with this, I have several concerns. And it would be, again, further back into the bluff that it would cut.
Okay,
That's all. Thank you.
thank you. Any others?
Hi, my name is Chris Taney. That was my wife. I live at 580 Primrose, just southwest of this home. I agree as well that I believe everything in our neighborhood is all considered R1. I would not like to see something rezoned into an R3, a multifamily dwelling. This area is much smaller than what this picture shows. I do not believe you would be able to fit 3 families into this tiny lot. I also am concerned about the parking lot being in the back, because from what I've seen, it looks like there possibly would be a parking lot in the back. That would be right in my backyard. I enjoy the view that we have right now. I would hate to just be staring at cars and concrete all the time. And then again, I agree with that big giant hill there. Developing that right there, something would probably have to be done for something of this size to hold back all that dirt. And again, it would have to be some type of big retaining wall. And we also have little children, would be very worried that they would fall over that sort of thing. But yeah, we would agree to just keep it as R1 and not rezone it to R3.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other public comment?
My name's Kyle Christina, and I live at 565 Primrose. So just across the street from where the property would be developed. It'd be on the other side here in the circle.
Let me do this.
So keep going south, it'd be southwest.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that spot, yep.
Here.
Nope, over left, right
This
there.
guy.
Yep, that's us. I guess my concerns were kind of already addressed in the previous little speeches with R3 zoning. My worry would just be that since it is primarily R1, I was kind of perusing all of the beacon earlier, and I would just be concerned that it would open the door for further construction of more units and stuff like that, especially since this is a single home dwelling. I just would like to see it stay that way. And that way it lessens the impact on a lot more traffic that could potentially come through. We already have kind of a quiet area. It's pretty safe for kids. So, and for people walking and running all the time. And then the other concern was, and now I'm drawing a blank, I should have wrote notes. With your guys' development plan, your comprehensive plan does it seems to be that you guys are trying to keep it that way. That you're trying to keep it as a single family home, residential R1 zoning. So you'd have, to me, it just feels like it's going to open the door for more of that. So I'm in opposition as well. And that is all I have. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, with that, if there are no other items from the public, we'll go ahead and close public input. If the applicant would like to come back up and if you have a rebuttal for any of the statements you just heard, okay.
96 North Grandview again. As far as the kind of lot and whatnot, the proposed plan with that shows the outline of the building actually fits. It's already done by BC. That is the size of the building, the over top, so it actually does work on the lot. The premise behind this is that it's actually a split foyer lot, so the way it goes up, the garage, all three garages would be built into the hill, thus they'd be even with the street in front, and it does go up at an angle, which then makes the backyard have about 30 feet. And then I also own Great Plains Landscaping, which is a commercial landscaping company. So if there is a retaining wall, it'd be done correct. At this point, I'm not trying to put any retaining walls there because they're expensive. And at that point, you'd only have to put the fence and whatnot that would follow any kind of city code. So, and I'm not trying to rent this. And as far as separating it into, each unit would have its own separate 12-foot wide driveway. I have a picture of what it is, if anybody wanted to see it. But in essence, I don't know, there is no parking lot behind it. There would be no way to get to the back side of the building. You are raised, so that would be built into the garage would be built in, thus each would be able to walk out just like a split foyer house. And a 12-foot driveway in front of each one off of the street. And then there'd be a green space between each. 20 feet wide a piece is about what we have.
Okay.
I get the R1, but these are all going to be for sale for individual condos, basically. So I don't know that it is, if there's no rental, I guess, in my mind, there is no difference between a townhouse and a house.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So before you sit down, does anybody have any questions regarding his statements? Yeah.
I do have one. So you just mentioned that they're single family. Would this lot eventually be subdivided along the common
Yep.
walls?
So basically what B-scene separated into that, but because either way I'm going to separate it into one lot if not, because that all is already, or meets city requirements without zoning as R1. So I will be building, I guess, in that essence, but when they put the foundation in is when they actually separate the lot. So the concrete between each of the garages downstairs would be put in, and then BCN would come in and resurvey it to separate them individually.
Right, it'd be based on the as-built so that
Yep.
one unit wouldn't be on somebody else's property. Right?
No, that's why they had to wait, because if
Yep.
it's off by 6 inches,
Okay.
then
Thanks.
it's possible that it would be off.
I'd like to ask a question. So I hear the concerns of the neighbors around, and I would propose the concerns have to do with a lack of clarity on what the thing is going to look like.
Yeah.
And in many instances, situations like this can be certainly headed off at the pass with oversharing information. And I mean, right now, what everybody has is a yellow box on a plat, right? So the concern regarding them being for sale, say, is you could sell and I could buy and I could then rent, right? So it's somewhat out of your control at that point.
Yep.
So a good deed never, what's the saying? Yeah, you're right. So what I would ask from you, what your position on something like this might be, if a proposal were made to potentially table your request in the event that further information was made to where the neighbors understood a little. I mean, there were comments made that the drive or the garage would be in the back, for example. And
I could address that.
okay,
That there is a note that says proposed new lot, and it's kind of surrounded by some dimension arrow lines and building lines and that sort of, it makes it look like there's a rectangle in the back, but it's not. It's just spelling out the size of the lot. It's not calling out for a parking lot or a patio or anything.
I understand. What I'm suggesting is the lack of clarity would suggest that it could be a variety of things. And so what I'm asking you, just your perspective, if the amendment were tabled, would you consider additional information, number one, for the commission, and two, for your neighbors?
And how does that go, or how does that work, I guess?
How does that work? So,
And do I send it to you, and then, which I think Sheena had most of it, didn't I believe, but
what we have is what is on the screen currently.
Okay.
So in terms of renderings, site plans, which, mind you, the site plan would have to go through a site plan review as well, right? I'm proposing that as an idea, and I'm just asking for your feedback with that.
yeah, I'm fine with that. I wanted to start building this this fall, but with
Sure.
this, you can't now because windows are like 5 months out now.
Yeah, understood.
So,
Understood.
so it really makes no difference as far as when I start.
Okay.
It's not
Understood.
gonna be this year, so sure.
Just wanted to get your 2 cents. Any other questions for the?
How long have you owned the property?
I buy 3-4 houses every winter, and that's what my guys do during the winter. We don't plow snow and whatnot, so we have landscaping during the summer. And so typically I own them for less than a year. And then we also I build 5 or 6 houses in Asbury, and just kind of to keep busy or whatever. But I don't own a single rental. I sell everything after the fact. But I mean, as far as like the rental, I could go in and buy every house on Primrose and start renting them. Everyone that came for sale. I mean, there would be no difference as far as that goes. And then there isn't anything. I don't know. I get it though.
Yeah.
So
Nope.
it is what
Understood.
it is.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you. With that, let's turn it over to you for the staff report, or Jason.
Assistant Planner Jason Duba. The applicant proposes to rezone a portion of the existing parent parcel from R1 Single Family Residential to R3 Moderate Density Multifamily Residential. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the 1.36 acre property and construct a triplex on the new 7,786 square foot lot. The existing parent lot accommodates an approximately 1,200 square foot single-story home with attached garage and a small detached shed. Currently, the proposed subdivided lot is undeveloped grass. The property is located in a single-family residential neighborhood. The applicant's stated use is to construct a 3-unit townhouse. The R3 district permits multifamily housing up to 6 units. However, without a variance from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the subdivided property would be limited to 3 units, as each unit requires 2,000 square feet of lot area, and the proposed lot is 7,786 square feet. Rezoning the subdivided property for multifamily housing may have a limited impact on neighboring properties and on-street parking. Each unit will be required to have 2 off-street parking spaces, and there is also plenty of off-street parking nearby, with undeveloped property across the street to the southeast. For construction of a 3-unit residence, the applicant would be required to have an approved site plan through the development review process prior to any improvements on the property. Site plans are reviewed by all relevant departments regarding access, parking, screening, paving, stormwater management, water connection, sanitary sewer connection, and fire safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Very good.
If it's okay, Chair, I'm sorry, I apologize. I would just like to add a little bit to Jason's report, in that when we first took this application in, we did do a basic vetting over whether or not the proposed subdivision meets the minimum subdivision requirements, right? So 50 foot of lot frontage, meeting certain setbacks, and we did find that this lot does meet those minimum standards. And as mentioned in the report by Jason, it would would require a site plan review, in which we would double check things such as setbacks. We would check the height of the building. We'd check to make sure that the required parking were provided for each unit, and that all those water utilities are appropriate, things of that nature. So I just wanted to let the commission know that those pieces would come up and be further vetted by city staff. So.
Great. Commissioner Russell, did you have a question?
Yes, thanks. This is for staff. Is Kane Street considered to be a collector street as far as traffic goes?
I haven't actually seen a traffic map of Dubuque, but it fits that description of a collector street, not an arterial street.
Right. Okay.
And more than just a residential level.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? All right, we'll open it up for discussion amongst the commission.
I kind of agree with your point to table it, just to get the neighbors, more informed, have us try to visualize if we feel it's an appropriate fit.
Yeah.
So I do.
Okay.
I would be in favor of the proposal myself. I think it's would be a good infill project, and it's on what appears to be a collector street. So, and they're going to be individually sellable units. So I'd be in favor of for those reasons.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I personally am not going to support the project. I don't think with everything else, even though they're going to be individual sellable units, it's still going to be R3 in the middle of what's an R1 neighborhood, and I don't see that there was a mistake in the zoning in the first place to require us to rezone it to a more intense. So I will not support it.
I don't think that it belongs in that neighborhood either. So I agree with Martha.
Okay. Yeah, I have a hard time supporting it just due to the lack of information that I have as it relates to what this wants to be. I support the concept of row housing, of smaller housing, of more sustainable use of land and things of that nature. However, I do think that can prompt a change in a neighborhood that is certainly more mature in that regard. And so understanding what the what this building wants to be and being sure that we are making the right move here to add value to the community as well with this decision. So that is my position on that. So with that, we can make a motion.
I do have one question. What is the difference between a collector and an arterial street?
Essentially, arterials have higher traffic volumes and faster speeds. So in Dubuque, arterials would be JFK, Pennsylvania,
Grandview.
Asbury. Collectors have less traffic, slower speeds, so Kaufman, Clark Drive, I think Kane would fit as a collector. And then residential streets are the smaller streets that feed into collectors and arterials. So as we're looking at here, Primrose would be a residential street. They're smaller and they don't have through traffic going on them.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we can, if there are no additional questions, so we can move forward with a motion based on the request made by the applicant. We can make a motion to table. One of the other steps would need to be taken by the commission.
I'd like to start with the motions by recommending to rezone the property from R1 to R3 to allow for the 3-unit townhouse.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Leffelholtz,
No.
Russell,
Yes.
Zucchero,
No.
Christ,
No.
Kemp,
No.
Mulligan.
No. Okay, so let's see, the motion, let's see, help me walk through this. So the motion did fail.
Yes,
It will still go before the
the city council.
city council, correct?
I believe, would it still go forward? I believe so. I'd also like to make the commission aware that if they would like to entertain a secondary motion or a revised motion on the matter in light of the conversation around tabling the item, they're certainly welcome to do so. But
Say your comment again.
so in the event that the first motion fails, there is an opportunity for a commission to make a second motion in the event there is support or interest in doing so. I just wanted to make them aware of that in light of the conversation, so. If not, then this will still go forward to the city council on October 18th. And we will provide the feedback from the zoning advisory commission to the commission or to the city council for their consideration.
Okay, very good. All right, is there any interest in continuing the conversation as it relates to that matter? Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, so with that, we'll move on to the next item, and we'll open it up for just any general items from the public. If you have anything to mention, please feel free to come on up. Seeing none, are there any items from the commission to discuss? Okay, anything from staff?
No?
Okay, very good. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.